Empire
City Transmission.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Empire City Transmissions. We're the Empire City Garrison of the 501st Legion, and we're here to talk all things Star Wars. Today, I have with me Matt the Earl Erwich, and he is on here because he is a distinguished trooper, another one of our distinguished troopers. And he is a distinguished trooper because I don't think anybody in our troop, defines hustle the way that you do. The amount of troops that you do, like the extra work that you put in, not only as a member of our command staff, but also just every day, like helping before troops, after troops, all of it. So, but before we get into all of those details, we have a quick word from our.
Very generous.
What's that?
I was just going to say that's very generous of you in the description.
Well, I wouldn't say generous because it's true. Like you really, you truly do go out of your way. But again, before we dive into all those dirty details, a word from our commanding officer, Justin. Over to you, Justin.
The Distinguished Trooper Award. It's an award that the Empire City Garrison gives out to recognize those for going above and beyond just the standard trooper. Hey everyone, I'm Justin Weiss, TB52503. I'm the commanding officer of the Empire City Garrison, and I am thrilled to talk to you about the Distinguished Trooper Award. There are those, I'm sure in every garrison that are just really into it and in for the right reasons. These are the people that are always there to help with setups and breakdowns. They're out there selling the 501st everywhere they go. They believe in the cause. And us at the Empire City Garrison like to recognize those individuals that do just that. The Earl is someone who joined our ranks and hit the ground running. He has been involved from day one. Even before he joined, he was coming along to events and helping out and setups and working the tables. And then after joining, he became one of our photographers and, always there lending a hand in one way or another. I can't think of an individual who deserves this award more than my friend, the Earl. He's a great guy, always greets everybody with a smile and a warm handshake, always there to help in any way, shape, or form. The absolute picture-perfect distinguished trooper. Thanks, Earl, for everything that you do. Back to Empire City Talks.
Thank you for that, Justin. All right, so let's get into this. So we're going to back it up to the last year. So at our Trooper Appreciation Dinner where you were awarded Trooper of the Year. Again, you do so much extra stuff, but on the sole reason for the amount of troops that you did last year, which, if I am not mistaken, was over 70.
That's a fair guess. Actually, maybe it was just under 70.
Or just under. Okay, but somewhere around 70, which is nuts.
For some reason, the number 68 sticks in my brain.
68? Okay. Well, we can round up for our viewers.
I'd have to look at the trooper thing.
Yeah. Well, either way, a lot of troops. And for those who are watching right now who hear that number and are like, that doesn't sound like a lot, like, let's just frame it in the context of, so we have 52 weeks in a year, right? And that means, so already you're doing multiple troops every weekend. And we generally don't have troops every single weekend. Like, there'll be a couple of weeks in a row sometimes where we don't have anything at all. And then weekends like May the 4th where we've got like 100 troops available to us.
Oh yeah.
And those are always crazy. But so yeah, that alone means that you're doing some weekends 2 to 3 troops or more. How many troops have you done in a weekend? Like, what's the max that you've done?
The max? Well, I think with Comic-Con weekend, that's the 4 days of Comic-Con, and then there's always another one tucked in there somewhere.
So you've done
last year, I think it was a total of like 5 in the space of 4 days or something like that.
That's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, so it's a lot.
So that's why you won Trooper of the Year. And like I said, in addition to that, you're always there early. You always help to set up all of our sets and like lay out costumes and things. You're always there late to help break things down. You're helping with transportation of stuff, so like you're all over the place. And for that, like I said, that dedication, that hustle, like you've really earned this nomination and this award of our distinguished trooper. So thank you for everything that you do. And with all of
I
that being
appreciate that.
said, oh, what's that? I'm sorry.
To be fair, I've had a little bit of a competitive advantage this year.
Oh.
I've had a lot more extra free time, for quite a few months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's made it where I'm around for some of those troops. Like there's been a couple of troops during the week. Hospital visits tend to be during the week because that's when the hospital staff can schedule us.
Mm-hmm.
So there was it's NYU Frick Outpatient Treatment Center. I'm not sure if I have the name right,
Mm-hmm.
but there's an outpatient center for cancer patients. What's the one for when you have diabetes? You have to have
Oh,
their treatment.
dialysis?
Dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's outpatient cancer treatment, dialysis, and others. It's a outpatient clinic that they have where patients will, kids in particular will come in for treatment and things like that. So we did that troop, and then afterwards we did the inpatient wards over at NYU,
Oh my
and it
gosh.
was all during the week. It happened to be myself, Alric, Andy Tedesco, and Danny. I feel like there was one other person there that I may be forgetting, so I apologize for that. But that being around during the week gets you a little bit of an advantage there.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't have two little ones at home like you,
Well,
so it
even
means I have a
still,
little bit more freedom.
even still,
Mm.
like freedom or not, the fact that even with all of that freedom, you still choose to spend your time and your energy with us, helping to, bring smiles to all of those kids at NYU. I really applaud you for all of it. And so I've never done a hospital troop, and I'm honestly I'm very genuinely nervous too. I don't know if I could handle it emotionally. So how was that experience for you?
It can be tough. Um, there are certain things that they ask you to not ask. Like you don't want to ask, "How are you?" for obvious reasons. They're in the hospital. They may be long-term patient in the hospital. They may be fighting a disease that could be terminal. Either way, the whole goal is to try and get them out of their reality into a little bit of fantasy where they can forget about whatever they want to forget about for a couple of minutes, whether it's whether it's as a Star Wars fan or just seeing somebody dressed up as a plastic spaceman, something to just take them out of their everyday. And the truth of the matter is that the first one is very rough because if you're not familiar with how the hospitals have, there's a lot of medical equipment and there's IVs and beeps and just it's a very sterile hospital thing because they're doing what they need to do medically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not prepared for seeing a child hooked up to some serious medical equipment, it can be very jarring.
Yeah.
Once you kind of get over that hurdle and you sort of have the mindset that okay, this is what I'm walking into, you can kind of steel yourself a little bit. But that first visit was difficult.
Yeah.
Many people have told me that they're very happy that they had buckets on, helmets on to be able to because these are these kids, these patients tug at your heartstrings just seeing what they're going through without even talking to them. But when you can break through that, you can break through their reality and bring them into our Star Wars fantasy. That's like the greatest victory. It really is, because you touched a bit that way.
Mm.
It's It's pretty amazing. It really is, and that's what the reward is for the whole effort of getting into the 501st and everything we're doing. You know,
It's all for those little
New
ones.
York Comic Con is fun, but the most rewarding are these other troops for sure.
All right. I'm so
I do
sorry.
hope you get to.
Let me pause for
Oh,
just 1
he's
second.
back.
Of course
He's
back,
back.
and he's
You know, I think everybody should do it because it's a different level of the reward and all that. I mean, we all know what Comic Con is. We've all done some of the smaller cons and things like that, but this is a different level of things because it's much more personal. It's much more rewarding on that side of things. Speaking of another rewarding group, I just did in Staten Island with a couple of people, Lyle, Margarita, and Danny again.
Mm-hmm.
It was adoption day at the courthouses, and they usually schedule a bunch of the adoptions all at once, and we were invited to come and be there for these adoptions, for these families getting the final adoption paper signing off and all of that. And that's another one that you get to be involved in. You get invited into people's lives to be a part of this very important event.
Yeah.
You know, it's
It's
something
such a
that
big,
I
joyous,
just
like
sort of never really.
heart-filled, like special thing too.
Yeah,
And I know so many of these families too that go through adoption. It's sometimes years in the like the making that they finally get to take their little one home. It's such a I'd love to be a part of something like that.
exactly,
Mm.
exactly. And it's funny because with the hospital troops and I found out with this adoption troop too, the other people that really benefit from us being there are the staff. All the court officers and all of that. You know, we're talking, police adjutant, um, peace officers, and all of that that are like, oh, deal with this stuff every day, blah 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 blah, and all that. They see Star Wars figures coming into the courthouse.
Yeah.
They get as much of a kick out of it as the kids do. The
I
same thing
always
with
say
the nurses
sometimes the
and
adults are
doctors in
more
the hospitals.
excited. Yeah, sometimes the adults are more excited to see us than the kids are.
Oh, 100%. You know, they're like pushing their kid to get in with the picture, and it's like the
Hmm.
adult wants the picture more than the kid. The
Hmm.
kid's like, what?
Yeah, I know. And especially like the little ones like don't really know who we are. They're just like, what is happening?
A little bit.
And the parents
Yep.
are like, go, go,
Some of them
go.
are too young.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's great. Some of them are too young to really know yet.
Hmm.
But like when you see like a little kid coming up to you, looking up at you, it goes one of two ways. They see the mask, and either it's abject terror or complete fascination. And it's just amazing. Like when Justin was dressed up as the Wampa, you're talking about a 7.5 to 8 foot tall, abominable snowman, basically.
Hmm.
And you get like little 2-year-old kids coming up with complete fascination in their eyes, no fear at all, just complete fascination. And he'll reach out, the Wampa paw out to
Yeah.
them. And
Just a
I've
giant
taken
pat
a
on
few
their head.
pictures and I've been there a few times, and it's just kind of amazing. It really is.
Hmm.
And those are the things that make it just so worthwhile because that kid's going to remember that down the road.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
you've seen
it's
Monsters
just
Inc., right?
incredible. I have.
I'm like literally imagining like Boo chasing after Sully, going Kitty. Like that's that's what I imagined happening with Justin and his Wampa.
That sounds like that would be kind of a fun virtual trip too. Start
Great idea. Noted.
staging different things
I'm
like
gonna
that.
write that one down. That's brilliant.
There you go.
So on
Yeah,
that
it,
note,
it
let's actually talk
that's
about
awesome.
your first, like how you came to join the 501st.
Well, it's for me. You, obviously, we got to go back a little ways.
Mm-hmm.
Before COVID, I used to. It's not really a surprise. Justin has multiple sclerosis. He used to have a charity team that would work with the MS societies to raise money. And obviously, him and I being friends for a long time, I was involved with the charity raising, and over 10 years, they raised a very significant amount of money.
Mhm.
And that's how I sort of got my foot into a little bit of the charity work and found out how you will encounter very like-minded people through the charity work. And unfortunately, COVID put a stop to a lot of that because it locked everybody down, so there weren't events and anything like that. But the flip side with COVID also with me was that because I didn't have I didn't have the family and the kids for social out and my social outlet. My social outlet was more of truly going out, and I used to do photography, take photos at live music events. Knew a lot of musicians, and that was everybody that I knew in terms of a lot of friends. So with COVID, unfortunately, shut everything down. So it took all of that away,
Mhm.
and that sucked, as it did for a lot of people.
Understatement of the
Um,
year.
yeah, and my experience is far from unique. And, everybody went into lockdown and all of that, and it changed the mindset for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So when we finally started coming out of this, a lot of people that I had known had moved out of New York or moved into other parts of their life and were not in music anymore. So there was a lot of people that I knew but were no longer no longer social with
Mhm.
because COVID dismantled a lot of that.
Mhm.
After COVID, when they finally started having the cons again, um, that became a nice outlet. Just as a customer going to New York Comic Con or Eternal Con, some of the smaller cons that were out on Long Island.
Mhm.
So I would go to those. Myself and Justin and a couple of friends would go to a bunch of those. So that sort of became a little bit of a step in that direction.
Mhm.
With that, I saw Justin harassing the 501st
Just like a little
for a significant
fangirl
period of
following them
time.
around.
Yeah, completely, completely. I always joke that it basically became he had to join or it was a restraining order that was coming his way, one or the other. And so
So
he
he
joined the
joined.
501st, and and I sort of got to bear witness to it.
Mhm.
Just being there. A lot of the early photos he has, like where he was just talking to some of the costume characters, like I think I want to say it was one of Joe Mantello's very early troops that I ended up snapping a photo of
Mhm.
Joe Mantello and Justin, talking to him and wanting a picture with, some of the characters. And
Mhm.
it happened to be Joe Mantello very early on.
Mhm. Oh,
So there's sort of
he's
like a
bringing
little bit of
everybody
a
in.
crossover entry right there.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said he's bringing everybody in. Joe
A
Mantello.
little bit. Yeah, truly it is.
Mhm.
And it was like seeing Justin's whole journey in. I didn't want to just do it just because my friend was doing it, because that wouldn't have been genuine. Um, I wanted, that wouldn't have been genuine to the charity. It wouldn't have been honest way to represent myself there. And it wouldn't have been fair to the charity side of things too if I was doing it for selfish reasons. So it took me a little while to kind of make sure I had my heart in the right place with this, and then I was approaching it genuinely.
Mhm.
Um, I guess the real convincing point was seeing Justin Troop a couple of times. I had kind of hung around as a helper once or twice at a TableCon, or not TableCon, tabletop gaming convention,
Mhm.
or CradleCon. I remember being at the Cradle of Aviation. That's where I met Chris and all of that. So I kind of just I wasn't a member or anything. I just helped out around the table, and just seeing the way everybody was and how everybody was committed to the 501st and the charity side of things was an eye opener. It kind of gave me the idea that the 501st, it's sort of like charity early on, the MS Society work kind of becomes a bit of a filter for meeting people of similar mindset, similar charitable mindset. And that started kind of the wheels ticking a little bit. And then just over time, I was like, okay, this is a good thing in terms of being able to sort of reestablish a little bit of a social life for me, um, and to do it and know that I was going to be involved with people that were of a certain, I don't know the right way to phrase it, but it sort of acted as a filter so that the people would be of a certain quality, of a certain mindset, of a certain type, um, rather than just sort of out in the world and you don't know what's going to happen. This sort of set the bar a little higher,
Mm-hmm.
and it's proven to be 100% true. Just this past weekend, I went to a troupe out in Rochester that I had heard about, the Strong Museum of Play for the Excelsior Garrison in upstate New York. This is like their one, not their one, they have a couple, but one of their big yearly troops. And it was amazing to meet a whole bunch of new people. And once again, the filter of the 501st definitely was in place because everybody there is of the same equal mindset and the same social consciousness. And it was an amazing weekend, and it's truly proven itself to be that way. So I started with the Thai Reserve, and kind of the easy way in. Now I have to fly
Not
pilot,
there.
and then now I have to be snow trooper. So
That's your newest one that's coming up. Well, you just got approved for your snow trooper, right?
I got approved for the snow trooper. Of course, I got approved for the snow trooper in the middle of July. Um, it's the hottest, sweatiest costume, short of the wampa, I guess. But like, my God, you're wearing layers of fleece and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I get approved in July.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's in a box until December hits.
Oh, you mean you don't want to wear it in the middle of?
I know I do want to wear it, but
Mhm. Just
God,
maybe
I don't
not
want to
when
be
it's.
be
Well, at
a
least now it's
complete
getting a little
sweatball net.
colder. But yeah, could you imagine doing like like the East Northport troop and that like the family fun night, which is like the most like humid night of the year in your snow
Yeah,
trooper?
yeah.
My God, we'd take you
Well,
out of that thing, you'd be a puddle.
I was in my Thai pilot and in that, and like when I take the suit off later on, it's like, oh God, yeah, right in the
Just like
washroom.
wring it out.
Yeah, ah, yuck. But and it's been amazing, the whole spectrum of different experiences, from to the point of going with the smaller library troops and the smaller community events, and now all the way up to like New York Comic Con, like 2 years running now.
Mhm.
Now I went up to Rochester for this strong event, and I've actually trooped with a couple of other groups too. Like a couple of weeks ago, Rhode Island Comic Con was another one that Justin and I actually took the truck up there, and well, I should say he took the truck. I get to just be the passenger princess. Kind of cool. And it's a lot of fun. I like, I've branched out from our garrison to meeting other garrisons since I have a little bit of that more of that freedom to be able to troop in different places and take a road trip here and there.
Mhm.
Been taking advantage of it. It's become an amazing social outlet for things. Met a lot of great people this way. met yourself this way.
Yeah. Well,
You
we're
know?
really happy to have met you too. Like, we're so lucky
Yeah.
to have people like you in the troop. That's like you said, it's that same sort of mindset that we really are all in it for the same reason. As fun as it is to get costumes and play dress up, as I always say, like to do it with the intention of supporting community and even just bringing smiles to little faces. That's again, that's what it's all about, and it feels good to to find like a group of people who's, I guess, very genuine in that same it brings you joy to bring joy to others.
Yeah, it's the like-minded mindset that
Mhm.
becomes a huge bonding thing between everybody.
Mhm.
That's at least that's what I found. So that was my run into the 501st. I mean, Star Wars has been like from the beginning for me. Like I loved Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars,
Mhm.
Star Trek, so all of the escapist
Mhm.
science fiction and all of that. And of course, yeah, Buck Rogers in the 25th century. Flash Gordon the movie, all of that. Complete escapist.
Mhm.
And that led me into the choice of TIE Pilot as my initial costume.
Mhm.
I realized that if you talk to a lot of people, they will say stormtroopers are the iconic Star Wars character, and I
Mhm.
agree with that. But for me, the whole spaceships and battles and dogfights and things like that. Even the Rebel X-wings, yeah, I know,
We'll give it to
the
them,
Rebel scum.
whatever.
Yeah, yep. But like the whole out in space dogfight thing, I guess it goes actually for me, it goes a little further back to like if you remember way back to the Peanuts, Snoopy being the Red Baron.
Mhm.
That was, I think, one of my earliest memories of that kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess it's a little bit weird, twisted, whatever, but that's kind of where it's at for me. I love that whole dogfight thing.
Would you ever want to learn to actually pilot a plane? Like,
I wish I would have done that earlier in life.
yeah.
I really do.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
it's never
I
too
do.
late.
And true, but even to the point that I would have liked to have gone beyond just regular plane pilot, I actually had seriously looked into the idea of becoming a helicopter pilot.
Really?
Yeah, I had actually really wanted to do something like that myself too.
Mhm.
And it's tough because the amount of hours that you need to have in flight.
Mhm.
A lot of helicopter pilots are ex-military,
Mhm.
where they have their flight qualification hours.
Mhm.
It can be done. It really can be done, but it's expensive and time. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, life started, and I got
Mhm.
into IT before that. And
And
if I had,
that's time consuming in and of
it's always
itself.
yeah, it's always 2020 hindsight.
Mhm.
What I should have done this, should have done that. But
Mhm.
you know, I wish, I
Yeah.
really wish.
Mhm.
It's so instead of doing it in real life, I get to do it in a TIE pilot costume and pretend.
Mhm. Yeah, but you get to fly a tie. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, friggin' lately.
That's another one of those things that's sort of iconic about Star Wars is the sound of the ties as they're flying by. And
Oh yeah,
like that, just like that pitch, that screech that they have is it's so cool and simultaneously terrifying. It's great.
it
So,
is. It's like whoever decides certain, like how they decide the whole soundscape
mhm.
architecture, like what sound's going to go with what and all of that. I mean, there's a whole industry on that.
Oh yeah.
And when they really nail it with certain sounds, it just becomes like, oh wow, we know exactly what that is.
Hmm.
Like the E11s, the stormtroopers, and shooting the laser guns and
Hmm.
all of that. Just the sound of the laser blast.
Pew pew
It's just iconic.
pew.
Yep, that's why everybody makes the sound when they do the gun. Pew
Yeah,
pew 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 pew. Yeah,
to go to Star Wars. Yeah.
100%. Anyway, I'm obviously getting you way off track here
Oh
in
no,
terms
it's
of
a we
things.
can. This is our time, but to jump onto one of the well, since we're kind of segueing into it anyway, we started talking about Star Wars media. Your favorite, which is what really made you fall in love with Star Wars?
Well, in I mean, I remember seeing the original Star Wars when I was like 6, 7 years old, and that one. I mean, while it was great, the one that really hit me hardest was The Empire Strikes Back
Mhm.
because it was such a change from the good guys win in the end.
Mhm.
Empire Strikes Back was like, no, we're just going to subvert everything here,
Mhm.
and it
Everything you did, we're
really
gonna undo it.
drew me in completely, and I couldn't wait for the continuation of the story.
Mhm.
It was just incredible. And I do realize that the original Star Wars, I'll always have the sweet spot for the original Star Wars, A New Hope. Um, that was, George Lucas did that with no idea whether he was going to be able to do any more of the story at that point. So he did it with, um, you know, do the story and we'll see what happens with sequels. But then he got the okay for the sequel because Star Wars itself just kind of hit the hit the nation's cultural zeitgeist perfectly at that moment, and just opened this whole new fandom. Then Empire Strikes Back comes in. He's got big money to do the bigger movie, and you can see the production is a higher level.
Mhm. More
Uh,
lasers.
and yeah, and it was an amazing story, and that whole twist uh, towards the end there, which everybody,
Mhm.
it's interesting to see the interviews where they had to keep it under wraps, and only obviously George Lucas um, and Mark Hamill really knew where it was going to go at the very end. Like Hamill did an interview on this and
Mhm.
was saying that George came to him and said, "This is going to happen.
Mhm.
You're the only one who knows. So if it gets out, I know it's you." George coming
He
at him
threatened
like,
him.
the mafia, like the mafia. We know it's you.
Mhm.
But I mean, Empire Strikes Back is really amazing, and that will always have, like, for me, the top movies. Now, recently, um, I mean, I've watched the Clone Wars, the animated stuff, Rebels,
Mhm.
the movies, of course. Rogue One was an amazing movie.
My personal favorite.
Recently, yeah, I think Rogue One is amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
so well done.
but more recently, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Andor
Mhm.
seasons 1 and 2. First of all, they lead right into Rogue One,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I haven't watched
the
season 2
tone.
yet. I'm so bad, and I'm dying to watch it.
Ah, yeah. I actually waited until season 2 of Andor had fully gotten out there, so that I had 1 and 2, and I could watch
Just
them.
binge.
Yeah, and I didn't have to wait for anything to come out.
Mhm.
And the storytelling was really on another level. It was a return to a different space. Um, it's much more gritty than like Clone Wars and others, which have a little bit more of a broader accessibility.
Mhm.
But the story told was just phenomenal on so many different layers and all of that. And it appealed to me now, as a 53, 54-year old person when I watch these,
Mhm.
as opposed to being a 9, 10-year old kid seeing Empire Strikes Back,
Mhm.
or a 7-year old seeing Star Wars.
Mhm.
So I think it's amazing that Star Wars has that range of accessibility. I mean, you have like the Bad Batch and others that are much more kid friendly.
Mhm.
Um, Star Wars. What's the animated series that was after Rebels? I think it
Oh,
was called
the
Resistance.
it's like
Um,
Rebellion or Resistance. I watched it. I was like, this is purely for children. Like, it hurt
exactly.
to watch.
Yeah, and I appreciated it for what it was, and it had
Hmm.
certain characters that were okay and all that.
Yeah,
But
it's like some of them were
the
fine, but
storytelling was at a much younger level.
hmm,
But
yeah.
that's kind of the appeal of it because you have this whole spectrum.
Hmm.
Because you go from Resistance to Andor and Rogue One. I mean,
Hmm.
it's very different in that bringing kids into it, it has to be much more simplistic.
Hmm.
But when we get to Andor and Rogue One, it's like we already know what the end result is.
Hmm.
It's all about the journey, and you can really submerge yourself into that story.
I think really does speak to, Star Wars as how it appeals to so many different age ranges is that you can watch Star Wars purely for the fun of space lasers and lightsabers and ties and the X-wings and all that, fun stuff that just makes it visually appealing and fun. But then if you really want to get into the storyline, you have those bits like Clone Wars, like Andor, like Rogue One, which are just these masterpieces of storytelling and really work to connect the dots. And
Yeah,
it really draws you in on that other level. So it's nice that you can have it just fun, easy, well, maybe not easy, but like fun action
yeah,
movie versus also getting into like the lore of all of it and how deep that really
yeah.
goes with literally, I mean, like every single character has a backstory and a name in that cantina. So to have that level of detail as well is I think, like you said, is something that's so special about Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely. And it's even after watching one of the features of the movies or the TV shows, there's always that rabbit hole afterwards of Easter eggs you did not see.
Hmm.
That they the YouTube videos of like 30 Easter eggs from Andor season one and things like that. And you get to see like these amazing things that you didn't see the first time through, and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
there's so much depth to all the things that they put in there.
Hmm.
And I'll see these Easter egg videos and I'd be like, I don't remember that at all. Oh my god! But you understand what I mean in terms of like
Yeah.
that's the rewatchability of the whole all the different media that's available.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So when I joined the
it's
501st,
still a lot.
I watched like everything in chronological order, and
Oh
so
wow,
yeah, so like when people start like bringing stuff up, I'm like, oh my god, I have to like go back, and it literally makes me want to like start from the beginning and watch it all over again. Like getting all these little bits of information and things that like I didn't notice or whatever. The first time watching everything through. But yeah, it's like the more you hear, like you said, like those bits of lore and those Easter eggs and things like that, it's like I
yeah.
gotta start from episode one again, get right back into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched it in like I've seen the chronological timelines where they say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
watch this movie, watch that movie, then watch these seasons of Clone Wars, and then
Mm-hmm.
watch this movie, then watch the rest of some.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those extensive timelines where they just sort of put everything in terms of the chronological time of the in universe chronological time, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously growing up with it, I watched it as it
As
actually
everything was
came out.
released.
So four, five, and six, and then one, two, three, then seven, eight, and nine. Then eventually, I got the Clone Wars on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that. I never watched the original Clone Wars movie that they did early on,
Mm-hmm.
so that's one I've never actually seen. Then there was Clone Wars and Rebels and some of the others, um, Bad Batch, and then there was the one after that. I can't remember what that was. But
There's
there's
so much.
tons out there,
And then it's
tons
also
out there.
and that's just what Disney has like counts as what's the word I'm looking for?
Canon,
Canon. Yeah, that's only what Disney counts as canon. There's so much other media from like
yeah.
all the books and video games and all of this stuff. So I don't know any of those like periphery things of like the books and the video
Me
games and all that.
neither.
I've never played any of them, but um yeah, I mean there's plenty to see and do within just the movies and the TV shows.
Oh yeah. In
Hmm.
terms of the video games, I played the Star Wars video game in the arcade when you actually put quarters in the machine way back. I know I'm dating myself with that, but that's what I played there. But there's been a whole bunch of computer games that they've done that they've had cutscenes in them that add to the lore and all of
Hmm.
that. And then there's all the comic books and the novels that have been done, like Timothy Zahn
Hmm.
is famous for his Thrawn
Hmm.
trilogy, which is what they're exploring with Ahsoka now.
Yeah, I'm excited to
Um,
see more of that.
yeah, it's amazing.
Hmm.
Timothy Zahn was actually at New York Comic Con
Hmm.
the last 2 years, I believe. And
I met him last year. We ran Justin and I ran downstairs um
nice,
to try and like get like an autograph or a book or something from him, and he was completely sold out. So yeah. But it was nice to it was cool to have that opportunity to meet him and say hello. So
absolutely. And
mhm.
he's
He
one of
really
the
is
nicest
so
people.
chill.
Like
Yeah.
he'll just have a conversation and
Hmm.
just talking person to person, and
Yeah.
just very down to earth. I
Hmm.
find that with a lot of the people that we'll meet at Comic Con are very much that way. I
Hmm.
mean, a little different from the celebrities that have the lineup of people like that,
Hmm.
at the signing tables and things like that, where they're running them through. But
Hmm.
when it's like an author or an artist who's at their own table,
Hmm.
they tend to take a little more time, and everybody just has this same. We have this common touchstone of Star Wars.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, to kind of like bring back to like what you had said before of like the 501st acting like a filter. It seems like Star Wars in itself can sort of act like a filter as well. I mean, you do have
true.
people who get all up on their, you know, high up on their horse about whatever, but those people are like so few and far between because what really brings you know, everybody together around Star Wars is the excitement for everything you said, from the action to the lore. It all, it really is a glue within the community.
It's true, and I'm very glad to have found that. Like as you were saying, there's always certain people that feel they are the subject matter experts, and they kind of
Hmm.
act as gatekeepers for it.
Hmm.
And to me, I'm glad that those people are very few and far between,
Hmm.
or it seems like they're very few and far between, at least in my experience.
Mine as
To
well. I've
to
been lucky, I guess,
yeah,
but mhm.
that kind of thing is just not. It's that's not a pleasant thing. You want more people to be able to experience it. And when I'm talking to somebody, and I'm not like the complete Star Wars nerd who knows like a lot.
Mhm.
But when I'm talking to somebody who says that they've just seen like one or two movies and they're starting their whole journey into it, to me, I want to encourage that. I want
Mhm.
them to find their own way in it.
Mhm.
I don't want to say that, oh, you should do this, you should do that, or any of that. I want them
Mhm.
to find their own way, because that's how they will cultivate their own general desire and interest in this. Everyone shows up in the ways that they can.
Mhm.
Um, I know my own journey. My own journey is not going to mirror yours or anyone else's,
Mhm.
because everyone has their own journey to make. Um, for me, it's been really a bit of a godsend in terms of the troops, and giving a reason to get up and get out there and do things. And it's provided a very good way to channel this desire to support in
Mhm.
terms of charity and community, and just be a contribute back to society in certain ways.
Mhm.
And it goes back again. It goes back to the troops. Like I've done. I remember always, like, I've done a couple of troops up with our Hudson Valley squad, and they have a couple of back to school events that they did up in Mount Vernon.
Mhm.
Um, Mount Vernon, there are certain areas of it that are economically challenged. So with the back to school events, they combine it with haircuts and school supplies and just, in that aspect of things in terms of that side of charity. And then they bring us, the 501st, there to interact with the kids, and we pass out our cards and pictures and things like that with the kids and the adults. And it just it touches things again. It goes back to the heart at that point. You feel like you're truly contributing, even just a brief little bit, for that kid to have a little bit of a break from reality, to just sort of go, wow, you know.
They're real.
And that's what it's really all about.
On that note, I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
So you have 3 costumes approved. Well, four now, including the snowtrooper. So you have your
Let's see.
because you've the
Actually,
tie
yeah,
reserve, your
technically it is
tie, the
4.
snow, and you've bridge crew.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
with 4 costumes, do you have a 5th you're thinking of?
I am. I'm thinking of a couple of different
It's
things,
an
and
addiction,
it'll
isn't
probably
it?
change a couple of times between now and then. But I'm thinking actually of doing a Paz Vizsla Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the Mandalorian series, Paz Vizsla was the Mandalorian who was like fully armored up and had the big automatic belt fed gun. And I mean, he ultimately sacrifices himself for them to escape as he engages Moff Gideon and his troopers. But I just like that. Part of the whole thing with the costuming too is you have to fit your body in terms of costume. Stormtroopers tend to be a little bit taller and slimmer. I'd be like that trooper. That big trooper. But in terms of costumes, I like the Paz Vizsla aesthetic. I really do. It is a lot of armor and the big machine gun and all of that. It's kind of like you got that big bulky look.
Yeah.
And I just like the character. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. At some point, I want to do some sort of officer of some type like that too.
Yeah.
On the cloth side, easier to do. Some like going back to Andor, some of the ISB officers are just are pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that color combo and like the white jackets are real nice.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked a little bit about this in the last podcast episode. We did like a ladies' night. I just like briefly touched upon, because I couldn't help myself, like the fashion and like the costuming, the clothing in Andor is just pure perfection. Just again another aspect of like the level of like attention to detail. Just another aspect of like the Star Wars universe. Is that just like the costuming and and even something like Paz Vizsla with, again, all of that like bulky armor. It almost looks like, to me, it kind of reminds me of Iron Man. In the very beginning, like the first suit that he makes, it's a little bit like that. And it gives this look of like he's been here a while. Like this is his original armor, and it's all beaten up, and but it's something like that would look so great, and that's so unique too. I know we don't have anybody in our garrison, but I don't think I've seen anybody in general really in that costume before.
I haven't seen anybody in that costume, but it's interesting because it's a riff off the whole Mandalorian side of things. So you've got Boba Fett, and then you also have Katie Sackhoff,
Bo-Katan.
Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan.
Her armor too is so. I love her armor.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course all of the Mandalorians that we saw in the Mandalorian series. So yeah, I get what you're saying about the sort of the Iron Man riff, the full encasing type armor situation, and one of the things I used to read before science fiction too was also fantasy,
Mhm.
knights and sorcerers and all of that too. So Star Wars with space wizards, and you've got your fully encased knights in terms of the Mandalorians.
Mhm.
It's there are parallels that run through everything here.
Mhm.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of something different for me in terms of costume, I'd like to do the fully encased armor of Paz Vizsla of Mandalorian.
I will. On that note, I won't keep you any longer. But thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. So, um, for all of you at home, thank you so much for joining us and hanging out with us today. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, and follow us on socials. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Till then, may the force be with you.